Hey, what's going on, everybody? My name is Corey, better known as the Seaman, and I want to welcome you to another edition of the Seaman's Cinema Sit Down, and back for another episode of our Spooktober Halloween movie list countdown. That's right, man. It is October 8th. And I watched 7 movies, just didn't do the reviews for those 7 movies. So we're getting caught up, and right now we're on what would be October 3rd. And for October 3rd, what I watched is another one of those classic Halloween movies for me. We're going back to the 90s, not super far back, but just 1999. And one of my all-time favorite scary movie, Johnny Depp movies. Johnny Depp is a classic Halloween character. And what's crazy is I have him on this list twice. And I didn't even do Edward Scissorhands this year. I'm going to end up, I think, calling this Spooktober, season 1. And then next year we'll do another different 31 movies. So couldn't get every great movie and my favorite Halloween movies in on this list this time. But did get Johnny on there twice. And this first one is one for me that holds a lot of nostalgia to college. Obviously, it came out right before I went to high school. But in college, my roommate Nick was a huge Johnny Depp fan, much like myself. And this was one of his all-time favorites. So we used to watch this movie all the time. And when you want to get your spooky and your scary and your gory on and give you a story that ties into Halloween lore you grew up with, this is the movie that I like to go to. So I can pull up a chair, take a seat. We're getting ready to dive in to Sleepy Hollow. That's right, man. Mr. Tim Burton. This is, for me, a classic Burton film. It's one of those Burton movies that really amps up the horror and the scary stuff, specifically through the use of Christopher Walken in minimal spurts. It's almost like a cameo appearance, even though he plays the Headless Horseman. I would imagine his stunt double did all the work without the head, and he came in to do the work with the head. But what they create the Horseman to be prior to losing his head, and then how scary and dangerous he is in the movie, the choreography. One of those things, like when you look at action movies from back in the day, you always go, oh man, so slow compared to what we get now. This is actually moving pretty quick, man. The Headless Horseman is quite impressive when he's on a horse, when he's wielding a sword, when he's wielding many axes. He is a force to be reckoned with, and the scary stuff in this movie really pops. But you still get that weird flavor of Tim Burton, and it feels like the only thing missing in this movie is Helena Bonham Carter. But you do get that quirky, weird kind of goofiness from Tim Burton in moments in the movie. Certainly color-wise, some of the set's interiors, like the wallpaper that kind of pops, you give you those moments of some of the brightness of Burton. This movie is fairly muted in color, which works perfectly for the type of movie that it is. But you are able to get that kind of weird humor because you got Johnny Depp on board. And he can just kind of have a look in his face and react to something where the moment is serious, and it doesn't detract from the serious, but you need a little bit of that tension cut, and it'll just be like a look on his face or one or two things that he'll say that'll kind of just make you either giggle to yourself or just break a little bit of a smile. And that's that classic Tim Burton vibe, and it's that vibe that him and Depp have created with each other over the years, working together as long as they have. And this is one of those movies where you have two of them working at the top of their game, more or less. And like I said, Burton's delivering on all the scares and the thrills that you want in the movie, while also having obviously wonderful set design and costume design. The look and feel and time period that Sleepy Hollow is set in is perfect. Having been to Sleepy Hollow myself, it's right here in New York, and having gone to Sleepy Hollow Cemetery and seeing Ichabod Crane's grave and walking over the bridge, it's not the original but rebuilt in the same place, they nail the look and feel and vibe of all that. And specifically, the thing that pops the most in this movie for me is the tree. The tree where the Headless Horseman's body is buried underneath. It's got this cool, weird kind of warped twistingness to it that just screams Burton. And every time you see it, whether it's in a still image, which they use on Netflix, or when it pops up in the movie, it just screams classic Burton stuff. And all that stuff works wonderfully, as does the blood and gore. Even though the blood and gore is like super bright red, it works perfectly for everything that's going on. When the horseman kills people, lots of heads get chopped off in this movie, and if you're gonna do a Headless Horseman movie, you gotta commit to the R and chopping off all the heads. And fortunately, Burton does, and all that works wonderfully. Shout outs to Kevin Yeager and Andrew Kevin Walker, who came up with the story, and Kevin Walker, the screenplay itself. They create a story that really works. It pulls on the lore of the Headless Horseman and utilizes it to create an actual detective story for Ichabod Crane. And it makes the movie engaging because it's not just the Headless Horseman and the classic story and fairy tale that we all know. That exists and it's being used by an actual person. So there's a real case to solve here. And that story pulls you in. And then the characters are the thing that really ends up selling the movie for you. Like I said, Johnny Depp as Ichabod Crane is brilliant. It's classic Depp. It's him just operating on high cylinders at his highest levels, where he just becomes this character and you feel that it's Ichabod Crane right away. And the way that he, deals with dead bodies all the time and is a detective and can use, all these different scientific things that he knows to help figure things out. If a spider or a mouse pops up, he turns into like a scaredy cat and is jumping up on things. And the way he can kind of play that quirkiness with the bravery. I mean, he has some really legitimate brave moments in there. It just works and suits the type of characters that Depp really thrives in, and specifically back then. And I just thought he was the perfect choice to be the lead of this movie. And then his co-lead is character Katrina Van Tassel, who's played by Christina Ricci, and she also perfect for this type of movie. I mean, talking about Wednesday Addams, man. Grew up watching Christina Ricci in horror movies and spooky Halloween movies. And she fits the bill for everything they need in this movie. She crushes, as far as the look goes. She suits that time period. And then the performance is just great. She's someone that, Ichabod unfortunately has to trust. And the relationship between her and Ichabod throughout the whole movie is fantastic. Whether it's that early learning to trust each other to kind of like a romantic sort of connection to each other, to kind of throwing that romantic feeling aside because they're thinking different things, specifically about her family. And just the way she kind of swings throughout the whole movie, it works. And she provides a really solid second to Depp's lead. And a surprising third is young Mazbeth, played by Mark Pickering. He's fantastic. And it's like one of those kind of like Bruce Wayne, Robin type scenarios where Ichabod Crane certainly is nothing like Batman. But the idea of an adult in a ward, and specifically fits that time period perfectly because wards were so common. But what Pickering is able to do is, again, just be able to support Depp when Ricci's not on screen. And for a kid, he's really good, man. I mean, he holds his own on screen with one of the best actors in the business. And it's fun to watch the two of them kind of work together. Originally, it's I lost my parents. I could totally be somebody that helps you here in town. And, Ichabod just like, I can't be the person who takes you in. And then when he learns some things, he's like, you know what, never mind, come along with me. And watching them kind of work together is a lot of fun. And it's a relationship that I feel is like Bruce and Robin, even though Ichabod is definitely not Batman. But I love watching that on screen stuff. And it's some of the stuff that works the best. Those three in particular, besides just the Headless Horseman, whoever the stunt double was for Walken, who does all the choreography, scary, terrifying, everything you want in the Headless Horseman. And then when Walken is there to play him with the razored teeth, and he doesn't even say any words, man, just the laughs and noises he makes, and classic Chris Walken looks you get with these crazy contacts. It's just all perfect. But everybody that's on this cast list shows up to play. I mean, whether you're talking about Miranda Richardson or Michael Gambon, Jeffrey Jones, Richard Griffiths, Ian McDermott, Michael Gough, or my personal favorite, Casper Van Dien. I have a soft spot for Casper Van Dien because when I tweeted out my tweet about Alita, he liked it. And I was like, I've never gotten a blue checkmark person liking something that came from like a movie that I grew up loving, which was Starship Troopers. And he's great in this, man. He has the best fight sequence with the Headless Horseman in the entire movie. It involves like the Horseman's got like a sword and an axe, and Van Dien's got like two of those like hooked like sheath things, and it's fast. That's the thing. Like, you watch movies from back in the 90s, and a lot of time the action is slow, or the fight choreography is slow compared to what we get to now. And this fight choreography moves, man. It's fast, it's intense, it gets you on the edge of your seat, and then that whole scene kind of plays with cool things. Like, they're near the bridge, and you hear the horseman walking, and they turn, and he's not there, and they're like, well, that's weird. And it's because he's on the top of the bridge, and then he jumps down behind. Like, everything about that scene I love, and Casper Van Dien is great in the few scenes that he gets. But like I said, everybody comes to play in this one, and you end up getting one of my favorite Halloween scary movies with Sleepy Hollow. So there you go, man. Those are all my thoughts on Sleepy Hollow. Like I said, one of my favorites, and considering I grew up very close to Sleepy Hollow, been to Sleepy Hollow, that movie certainly holds a special place in my heart. So big fan of that. The question is, are you, man? What are your thoughts of Sleepy Hollow? Are you a Tim Burton fan, a giant Depp fan? Where does this fall in the catalog of Depp and Burton movies? For me, like I said, this is one of my more favorite ones. It's one of those ones that's a little bit more serious and a little bit more scary and a little bit more adult. And I love when Burton and Depp specifically kind of get into that. So is that stuff that worked for you? Like I said, where does that fall with those guys? Where does the movie fall in general for you? Liking it, disliking it, what works, what doesn't. Everything goes down below in the comments section. Look forward to talking to you down there. As always, if you enjoyed this video, please give me a thumbs up. And if you're new, you want to come hang out all Spooktober with the Seaman as we count down to Halloween and try to fit in 31 movie reviews of 31 scary movies or Halloween movies, and you haven't yet, you can show a little love. Hit that subscribe button. Come join the Seamaniacs all Spooktober long. And until next time, for the Seaman's Cinema Sit Down, I've been the Seaman. I'm signing off. Well, you guys are still here. You must be looking for some more content. Well, don't worry. Seaman's got you covered, man. You got videos like this guy and this guy. And if you haven't yet, and you want to come check out all the Seaman goodies, join the Cinema Sit Down squad, man. Hit that subscribe button. And don't forget to hit the little bell down below that, too, so you can get alerts every time I make new videos.